Midday Roast with Team SI. Hi, I'd like to welcome everybody to Midday Roast with Team SI. This is our first Facebook Live of the new year of 2017. And I appreciate everybody joining in and tuning with us. And I know Facebook is building our audience right now. But if you've already joined in, I want to encourage you to help us build that audience and ask you to go ahead and share it. So you can go ahead and share the live video feed with your friends so they can join in. Or you can actually go in and ask a question, make a comment, like it, just so everybody else knows that you're watching us and engaged with us, and you can invite your friends to engage with us too. Today we're going to talk about content and the importance of content, and we have a great team with us to talk about the importance of content. Whitney Burgess is a senior account executive with Team SI. She's been here about a year and a half. John Morgan is our SEO manager. John's been here a couple of years, and the old guy in the room, Wes Heimer.
Oh, yeah.
Wes been here about 5 years at Team SI. And, you know, Wes has had every job in the world here. So we've got a great team, an expert team on content, the importance of content. And I think that's, you know, I've been my mantra for 4 or 5 years, and I've said content is king. And it's really true today still that content is king. Content shows that you're an expert about something. It shows your authority. And people engage with you through content and through what you've published. But specifically, Whitney, how does content benefit a small business?
I think the biggest benefit is that it shows that you're authentic and you can communicate with your audience. Because with a small business, you're talking about, if you're in a B2B, business-to-business position, we know that people are doing a lot of search in that. They're spending time and trying to figure out, maybe it's cutting costs, maybe it's looking at trying to stay updated on industry trends and different things. And we know that people are searching for things about solving problems. So the content that we want to create is going to be based on what does our audience need to solve a problem with. And so when a business does that, you start to build that relationship with your potential new clients and really work through that process together and provide a solution. And so then they trust you, they want to work with you, because it's, regardless of if it's real people sales, like in person, or if it's online, people want to work with people they like.
Right,
and as
definitely.
you build that up, it works.
And that whole question about, people answering people's questions about what you provide and services you provide brings up the whole search engine optimization and how content helps search engine optimization in figuring out that right query. How do you determine that what people are actually searching for and looking for, John?
Yeah, that's the big issue and really the crux of content marketing today in 2017. And really, I think Whitney hit the nail on the head when she said when people do business they want to do business with somebody they like. And so what does that entail when you're doing business with somebody that you like? You've got to communicate on that same wavelength, and that means that you're going to identify with the problems that your consumer base has. And so when somebody has a problem, they ask questions. And so you've got to think almost in a Q&A type of mindset with a lot of top of the funnel type of queries these days. A lot of Google's algorithms are pointing towards that semantic type of search where people are going in, they ask a question. Google has even formatted some of those answer boxes at the top, and they pulled directly from the page and answered people's questions directly there and put a link to that page. So that's really the top of the funnel, is going to be a lot of identifying with what people's problems are and making sure that they can find an answer. A lot of that is in the B2B world, wouldn't you say, Whitney?
Absolutely.
So right before we get into some content marketing tips, I want to encourage you, if you're watching, to go ahead and ask a question. If you have a question for us, and just put it in the comments, and Grace will interrupt us and shout out the question. So go ahead and do that if you have a question, and we'll get to you as soon as possible. But let's go straight to some content marketing tips. I'm going to let Wes kick us off with a couple of tips, good ideas of how a small business or any business can kick off their content marketing in 2017.
Yeah, for sure. And what I would recommend to you guys, if you're a small business and you decided 2017 we're going to dive into content, and you're looking for a place to start, I think the best place to start is just like John was talking about. Think through what are the questions that people come in and ask you. Whatever your business is, what are the most frequently asked questions that you receive when people walk in the door? Because what we see now is that people not only walk in the door and ask you those questions, but now they pull out their phone and they ask Siri, the exact same question. They also pull out their phone, they type it into Google, and they search that same question as well. So the more articles and information you can provide, I call it just being useful. The more you can be useful in those moments, the better off you're going to be of generating business from that content that you're creating.
Right, and part of that, deciding what those questions are, is defining your target audience. And so how do you go about defining a target audience, Whitney?
A lot of times when I'm talking about defining the audience, it's thinking through, we know that we're not working with everybody. And it's really thinking about what is your ideal customer, where are they, what industry are they in, or what interest do they have, and really thinking about what are kind of some of the common denominators and identifying some of those behaviors, identifying, where are they located? Are they within 15-mile radius of your business, or are they driving in from 30 miles away? So really being able to have that conversation and looking through, maybe your database, if you want to, look through list segmentation and see who you're actually already working with and how to replicate that on a larger scale. It's going to be one of the big things to identify. Talk to your sales team. I think your sales team spends more face-to-face time with that audience and is really going to provide good feedback on your ideal or persona or audience.
Right, and really when you think about content and the content that you have to create, it's not all about you and your business. It's really all about your audience, and that's how you stay engaged with your audience. And the content you put out doesn't have to be even limited to services that your business provides. It can be services and information that are useful to your audience, and that's just like Wes said. Be useful, and you can be useful in those little details about your audience and how they go about their life in their day to day, and also useful in that instant where they hit that roadblock, that obstacle, that they have a question that they need an immediate answer to, and that's when people are turning to those Siri type of questions that you need to create content to answer. So make sure you know who your target audience is. Make sure you stay engaged with your audience. And the big piece of the puzzle is, don't forget a call to action. So what kind of call to actions, would a small business have, Wes, that really pull them in and help them engage with your business?
Yeah, it could be offering some sort of coupon at the end of your article that goes along with whatever you're talking about. Just some sort of incentive to get them in the door. We typically don't recommend a real hard sell necessarily, but if it's just an article about being useful, maybe your article, for an example, is we have a dealership and we did a video on how to take off the hard top of your Jeep, and so at the end of that we always provide tips and things that we can provide if they just bring their Jeep in that we can take care of for them, and typically that winds up being an upsell of some sort. So just anything that you can tie back into the article of giving a discount or something like that, that's always worthwhile.
Yeah, and I think we don't have to limit ourselves when we talk about content. We have a question. What's the question, Grace?
Okay, this is from Michael Joyner.
Whoa, Mike.
From Austin, Texas.
Yes. And he says, is keyword stuffing still worthwhile SEO static for content?
So, John, why don't you define and tell us what keyword stuffing is for people in our audience who might not understand it, and then you can tell us your opinion about whether or not it's worthwhile.
Sure, Michael, thanks for your question. Thanks for tuning in today.
And hey, if you have a question, make sure you just go ahead and type it in the comments and ask that too.
We'll do our best to get back to you. So for keyword stuffing, this goes way back, I think, to the dawn of SEO, that people realized that Google, and even at that time, when Google wasn't even a big deal, the algorithms at the time would scan the page, the bots would scan the page, and however many times this keyword was mentioned on the page, that would increase the relevance of that page in the eyes of the algorithm, right? So, and that really worked well for a little while, but the people that run the search engines are pretty smart folks, so they figured out that just because a keyword is there a lot doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be the best result. And so typically what we find is that in this day and age, that the best result is something that is relevant, and yes, you can have an exact match to the keyword on there a few times, but it's going to be the most helpful result, and that kind of circles back to what we were talking about with resonating with your audience and providing content that's engaging and helpful. So keyword stuffing is a no-no. You can try it if you feel like you don't believe me. That's fine. I wouldn't.
Well, we wouldn't recommend
Wouldn't
keyword
recommend
stuffing.
it at
Yeah,
all.
I mean, basically, if you're providing content that's useful to your audience in a semantic HTML or web format that a search engine can read, it's going to work out. I mean, there's over 1,200 different factors in the Google algorithm. More than that.
I know
Google
you
keeps it
really
a
know.
secret.
Yeah.
They don't share it with us. But John and his team do a good job guessing, predicting where Google's going to be in 6 months and moving our clients to that spot. So when Google makes a change, our clients jump up into that space. And it does not involve keyword stuffing.
No, and really one of the things that we're moving to, and I've done some reading, some research around this, is today, really, if you're looking at optimizing your page in an ideal fashion for a good piece of content, one thing that you can experiment with is playing around with your title tag on that page, because a lot of times in the past the title tag has been that place where you put a couple exact matches to your keywords, and it may or may not read really well. Try to throw your brand in there, but if you've got an interesting piece of content, be playful with that page title and incentivize people, because the title tag is going to be what shows up in the search result, not 99 times out of 100. And so if you can incentivize more people to click through with an interesting page title, but still include the keywords in a relevant way, then that can be a big win, and you can open up your funnel and cast a wider net that much better.
Cool.
Yeah, and that's not only going to show up on search, that title's going to show up if you post it on Facebook, in the snippet there that it provides. So that's huge, because you think about when you're scrolling through your news feed and things like that, you want a title that's catchy enough to get people to click. Nothing that is clickbaity or anything like that, but
Exactly.
just something that people find engaging enough to come visit the page and share that article with their friends as well.
So thanks for the question, Michael. And if you have another question, please go ahead and leave it in the comments, and Grace will jump in and let us know. But up until this point, we've discussed content. It seemed like for the most part, we're talking about content on your website, landing pages and blogs and things like that. Wes did tap on and mention Facebook, but content doesn't have to just be text. Content can be social media posts, content can be on Instagram, content can be Facebook Live, content can be videos on YouTube. There's lots of different forms of content out there that are recognized in search engines and lots of other places that people engage with your business. Now, why don't you talk about LinkedIn strategies? Whitney, how would B2B work out on LinkedIn?
The biggest thing with LinkedIn is being able to, we kind of know the behavior of people on LinkedIn. We know that they are in a business mindset in the professional space, and they're typically looking for industry trend articles, and so it helps us to identify that area. So a lot of times LinkedIn is really promoting a lot of blog content, and they're promoting, and they're really doing work to increase their video usability and how that works to be similar to a Facebook layout. But with B2B, it provides us the chance to do a lot of social listening and seeing what other industries, what people in our industry are talking about. It helps us connect, and actually I'd say that I'm a person, and so you have the ability to be the brand and the professional. I think that's a huge advantage there. But I think it shows that we're all paying attention, and that we do a lot of heavy research, and we are invested in learning more about our industries. And so that content does get shared a lot in our office. I see a lot of people that, if we're promoting something through sponsored content on LinkedIn, we'll see that they've, read the article, clicked a website, and then shared it among their office. So I think that the fact that in business to business, there's not one decision maker a lot of times. There may be one person who signs the line, but there are multiple people who talk about it, and creating that conversation, creating an environment where you have that water cooler topics. I think that's really where business to business content is.
Right. So Wes, what about Instagram? So not necessarily business to business. Instagram just looks like a pictures and text. You can even put links out to your website. But what's the purpose and how does it work for a company to use Instagram for content marketing?
Yeah, I mean, I would look at Instagram as a place to really share your story, share your culture, what makes you guys different, just some of the day-to-day things in the life that's going on at your business. I mean, I know I follow a pie shop on Instagram, and on Sunday mornings I see these huge cinnamon rolls in my news feed, and I was like, I've got to go there.
I think he's talking about honey pies.
Yeah,
So give a shout out to honey pies. So,
and they do a great job with just sharing their story, through images and things like that. So I would just encourage to have somebody on staff that's just kind of dedicated to once or twice a day, just sharing some behind the scenes.
So yeah, that's a good one too. So how often should you post on Facebook or Instagram, Whitney?
Well, something that I definitely want to tag in is saying, we strongly encourage your Facebook post is a different platform than Instagram, and they don't need to have the exact same post.
Right.
I think it's a huge thing to understand that on Instagram, it's about the vision and it's about the storytelling of your business and your brand, and posting on that up to 3 times a day. A lot of people are spending time on Instagram first thing in the morning, typically about 2 in the afternoon, and then late in the evening. And a lot of that to note is that Instagram's usage is that the heaviest increase right now is in the female 35 to 45 market. So that mom crowd is getting off of Facebook and quickly going to Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
On Facebook, we're looking at, we're still seeing high times between at 9 a.m. and we want to post there, and then 12, and then later in the evening as well, and the hours kind of vary, but it can be up to 3 times a day, and a lot of it is your audience is going to tell you how often they want to see it. If they're not engaging, then pull it back. If they're really engaging, bring it back up, or change it and do Facebook Live in the middle of it and change the content format.
Okay, so you got the easy questions about Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
So now we're going to let Wes talk about Snapchat for a second, because Snapchat's really seen as a very personal medium, and I share my snaps and my videos with the people I want to share them with. But how does a business use Snapchat to reach their audience, Wes?
Yeah, Snapchat is what I would call the Wild West for businesses in 2017. I don't know that there's like a formula out there right now for, as far as this is how you need to go about doing it. Again, it's just all about being in the moment and showing people what's going on at your store, behind the scenes. And Snapchat's a place to have a little more fun. And not be so serious. So I would encourage you to think of just fun ideas that you could do, in quick snippets, to keep people engaged there.
And in the same way, using Instagram stories, do the exact same thing that you would on Snapchat, but realizing there's still different audience between Instagram stories, still has that 35 plus mom, 35 to 45 mom who's really growing, where Snapchat is still under 25, under 21 even, so
Right.
definitely a younger audience who are engaging quite often, and if you're not authentic on Snapchat, they're gonna
Absolutely.
unfollow you and unfriend you.
It's not the place to have your professional photography photos at all. It's about authenticity, and it's about kind of cutting through that clutter, because as Gary Vaynerchuk always says, it's about day trading attention. At Gary V, follow him. But it's about day trading. We have to connect with people. We want to talk about what they're talking about. On Snapchat, it's one of the most personal. I think you use it. It's one of the most personal platforms that we have, because it's not super saturated right now. I do think that for businesses, there are a lot of times I'll get clients and they're intimidated by Instagram. They don't think it's the right platform. They're intimidated by Snapchat, or we don't have time to do all of these different places all of the time. And so figuring out those content plans and understanding that these are just ways to communicate. This is the same value as the email marketing that we're doing, or the direct mail piece, and kind of figuring out how do we use these as platforms and think of them as distribution channels, and not just as this is a social platform and this is where I go to look at pictures.
Definitely. So Grace, have we had any more questions so far?
We have one question. They were like, how, this is from Dorothy. She works at a local, it was actually texted in. She works at a local retail store, and she's a buyer for this company.
Mhm.
How often should they incorporate video?
So we have a question about how often a local retail store should incorporate video. John, you've been quiet for a while. Make you talk about something that's not search engine-y, but or you can make it. So tell us about how often you think video should be incorporated.
I think really depending what you can do, and I'm a big analytics guy, Wes, as you know.
Oh, I know.
And so one thing that I like in the digital realm is the test it, see how it works. You've got the data to see how well it worked. So if you haven't been doing video, then now's the time to start for sure. Test out different lengths of your videos there. Test out different styles of videos. Test at different times. And all this information can be recorded on whatever medium you're using. So you can test the engagement that you're getting back, the feedback that you're getting back, how many shares, likes, comments, all this stuff is recorded. So if you've already started, then you should already have kind of a database to work off of and see what worked and improve on that. And so it's really a matter of seeing, either starting if you haven't started, seeing what works, and then improving on it. And that goes the same for really, I think, any type of medium, whether it's a blog post or a landing page. It's a matter of seeing what works and improving on it every time. And that also goes for other players in your space. If you know another retail store that is doing video and you see them getting a lot of engagement off of a specific type of video, then you can imitate that, but not copy it, but make it better. And that's always our strategy, is to look at what works and make it better and make it our own.
Yeah, I mean, definitely video is a strong play. We know Facebook favors video and its algorithms. Instagram favors video and its algorithms. We've used YouTube a lot, Wes, with a way to just have another search engine result that shows up in the specific query, so we can have a landing page and a YouTube video, right?
Yeah. A lot of people don't know that YouTube is actually the second largest search engine behind Google. So a lot of people, not only search on Google, but they also want to visually see a video of somebody explaining something, or to see an actual demo of a product and things like that. So that's huge.
So definitely. I think the last point about creating content, engaging content, is specifically when you start breaking up and talking about all these different platforms in your website, and Facebook and Snapchat, Instagram, is there really the need to be consistent across all the platforms, that you're talking to the specific audience for that platform, but you're maintaining your brand consistency across that. Can you share a little bit about that, Whitney?
Yes, I think that being in all the places, it still needs to be authentically you and your brand and your business. But it also is understanding that your reason for being in these places is because that's where your audience is. But we still have to, we know that people are on these different platforms, and we're communicating and we're sharing the blog on Facebook, and we're making sure that it's showing up in search, and then we're doing emails or we're doing call to actions on social media that are driving people and traffic in. But the consistency I think it helps with that trust value. I think it's about, if you're consistent and you're proving that this is something I'm a subject matter expert in, and I have some authority in it, then you should have more than one piece to say. So I think that the consistency helps in that engagement, helps people tune into you and value your opinion and want to work with you.
No, definitely, I agree. Any other last minute tips about content marketing? Any last minute questions, Grace?
Not
Is it
right
quiet over
now.
there? All right, well, from everyone here at Team SI, we want to thank you for joining us today. I know I've learned something new from our conversations today. I hope you've learned something too. If you have, I want to encourage you to share it, to like it. We'll be back next Thursday at 11:45, so be sure to tune in with us then. Thank you for joining us.